Good morning, America. Good morning, USA. Good morning, everybody. Guess what? It's about that time for coffee talk on this morning. Oh man, with Slim, the Colonel, and the Queen. Oh my goodness, we're gonna have a lovely time for you on today. Before we get into the second of the program, let's have a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for our last night's sleep and slumber and early rising on today. Just asking you, God, to be with us on this day as we go through and as we are going through on the airways. Allow these speakers the anointing to do what you have called them to do. Give us the information that we need to make our lives, our families, and our communities better. We give you thanks, we give you praise, and we honor you just for being our God. And we give you thanks in Jesus' name. We pray for these and so many blessings.
Amen.
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 Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Every day we rise. It's a great day to be alive, and welcome everyone to the Seven Cities Forums of Hampton Roads presents Portsmouth Coffee Talk with Leah, the Colonel, and yours truly, Slim Overton.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Morning.
And let me tell the people that are watching my Facebook Live, if you don't see the Colonel, he's there, and I'll bring him on. For some reason, I don't have him on the full screen, but he's there, and I'll show him every once in a while. But Leah has all of us, so if you want to go to Leah's Live and watch everybody at the same time, please do that. Good morning, everyone, again, and we have a special guest with us, Ikai. Ms. Peele, did I pronounce that correctly?
No, but it's okay. It's Ikai.
Akaya.
Please. Ikai. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ikai Peele and Jessica Palmer. Good morning to you, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning, ladies.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Before we get started with you, we usually recognize citizens of Portsmouth on every show of Portsmouth Coffee Talk. And this month we are featuring high school students since this is graduation month. So Leah, if you will, and when you finish, Leah, please lead us off in the conversation with these two lovely ladies.
I would love to, James. Well, good morning, everyone. It is indeed my pleasure. During this pandemic time, these young people, they excelled in spite of what they had to go through. So we're happy this morning to highlight Miss Layla Turner of Woodrow Wilson High School. Miss Turner has a 4.1 GPA. She's an honors graduate. Her major will be exercise science, minor in nutrition. She's a member of the Student Council Association, National Honor Society, honor roll all 4 years playing varsity basketball. She is number 6 in her class and has received a full academic scholarship to Central State University, a $1,000 athletic scholarship, and she is enrolled in Honors College, where she received Honors College Scholarship, which covers her first semester of $10,000. So we want to say this morning, congratulations to Miss Layla Turner of Woodrow Wilson High School. And the next person we're honoring this morning has a special place in my heart. She has been a part of my youth group, Sankofa Cultural and Learning Center, for many years. And that is none other than Miss Nia Simone. Nia is the daughter of Morris and Elisa Winston. She will graduate with honors from Churchland High School on Saturday, June 19th. While a senior, Nia has completed 2 semesters at Tidewater Community College through the dual enrollment program. Nia was accepted in over 19 universities and has decided to attend Virginia State University in the fall to major in psychology. Nia has said that she wanted to attend an HBCU. So throughout her high school years, Nia has participated in or is a member of the following: the Student Council Association at Churchland High School, Miss Southmore at Churchland High School, Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority Camp Counselor 2017 through 2018. She was a junior director at Sankofa Cultural and Learning Center, Churchland High School cheerleader, Faith Fellowship Community Church youth leader, yearbook club, Churchland High School, AKA Ascend program. And Neil was inducted into the National Honor Society and the National English Honor Society. So this morning, it gives me great pleasure to congratulate Miss Nia Simone, the daughter of Morris and Elisa Saunders, as well as Miss Nia Simone of Churchland High School, as well as Miss Layla Turner of Woodrow Wilson High School. So good congratulations to each of these young ladies on this morning for excelling in all that you do. And as you all can see, my green screen is acting up this morning, but we're gonna move on in spite of it, okay?
All right.
Okay. Okay, we know that the month of April was Autism Awareness Month. You know, and I knew then that I wanted to have you all on board, because when I went to Lakeview, I was told that you need to go to Connecting Communities. You need to go to Connecting. I said, we need someone for Autism Month, because I think that's such an important subject for us to talk about, with so many children having been diagnosed with autism. And, you know, because I thought about, so often we see children in stores and in public places who are acting up and acting out. And immediately our assumption is that the parents have no control over their kids. But we don't know what's really taking place with these kids, and all the range of symptoms that come with, oh, I lost Jess, comes with them having been diagnosed on the autism spectrum. So this morning, it is indeed my pleasure to have Miss Ikai. We started off wrong, and we're gonna keep on wrong, Miss Peele.
It's fine.
And Miss Jessie Farmer this morning to talk to us a little about autism and being on the autism spectrum. So good morning, ladies, and thank you so very much for agreeing to come on. And when you start talking about what it is you do, I'm going to try to adjust my light system and get my green screen to come back on, okay? Okay, who would like to start?
Jesse?
Sure. We can just start with talking a little bit about autism spectrum disorder. So I wanted to give a little bit of background. So autism, some people might be familiar with the previous diagnoses. So it was previously autistic disorder, Asperger's syndrome disorder, and then another diagnosis called PDD-NOS, and then childhood disintegrative disorder. But now all of those diagnoses are sort of under the umbrella term of, if you will, of autism spectrum disorder. So obviously it has spectrum in it. So there's a very wide range of different skills, deficits, communication abilities. And then what they did was they kind of broke it down into level 1, 2, and 3 to denote levels of severity. So all of those diagnoses now are autism spectrum disorder. There are typically no physical markers, right? So you can't necessarily see that somebody has autism, but often somebody with autism is, they might have some communication deficits, some social skill deficits, maybe some behavioral deficits like you were referencing, and the way that they interact, behave, and learn just might be different. And like I said, it's very important to note that there's a very, very wide range. So somebody could be severely challenged and somebody could be extremely gifted. And then everywhere in between, and all different sorts of skills along the way. So that's kind of autism in a nutshell. If we want to talk about some signs and symptoms.
Yes, please.
Okay. So there is a very, very long list. Autism definitely looks different from person to person. So, there's a saying that if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism, right? So some signs to look out for, and this is, so if you're a parent, those early milestones, right? So when they're young, about 18 months to 5 years, that kind of range. There are some really great checklists out there from like the CDC and Mayo Clinic for some milestones that you should look out for. So if your child has missed some of these milestones, like especially the communication ones, the social ones. So not making eye contact, not engaging in conversation, or not responding to emotion or showing a lot of emotion. Things like that for communication at a very young age could be some red flags. They say no single words by 15 months or no 2-word phrases by 24 months, not responding to their name. They might have a very good, what's called rote memory. So they can remember things maybe like numbers, letters, songs from favorite shows, things like that. Behavioral differences. Some examples here might be some repetitive behaviors. So rocking, spinning, swaying, walking on their toes, things like that. Being very sensitive to certain smells, sounds, textures. And I think it's also very important to note too that, we're not necessarily talking about, just not liking, a certain kind of food, like not like meat or crunchy textures or things like that. We're talking about some pretty extreme reactions to these things, and not, making eye contact on occasion. It's, more often than not, they're not responding, they're not making that eye contact, because all of these are sometimes typical in certain ranges. So, and then socially, not engaging with maybe appropriate play, engaging in toys, engaging with other children, things like that. So those are just some examples of signs and symptoms.
Okay, Akaya,
Yes.
you like to add something to that?
Yes, I everything that she said is spot on. I would like to also add that there are a lot of different resources available for those parents. Like how you mentioned, you're in the store, you get embarrassed because of the way that people respond to the behavior of the child, unbeknownst to them. So it's our role to make sure that we're building that community awareness about autism and the spectrum, the behaviors and things of that nature, so that it doesn't cause that type of discomfort for the parent or for those that are in the store. They have a better understanding of what this individual is experiencing, what the parent is experiencing. So when we can come together as a community, bridge that gap, educate the parent, educate those that are in the community, and bringing that awareness makes a world of difference for everyone that's involved.
Wonderful. And I know that you all are involved in the school system as well. How are you working with the children in the school system?
So we've partnered with a lot of different schools in the area to work with them to identify these different types of behaviors, because oftentimes, as Jessica said, the parent or guardian may miss certain signs. They may brush them off as behavioral, or, for lack of better terms, they're just misbehaving, or they're just being bad, or, just kind of brushing those behaviors off, when in fact there is something more deep rooted. So we work with different schools so that they can identify some of the signs, and again, educate the parents so that in turn they can pursue different remedies to address the different behaviors or the diagnosis.
Yeah, and as you said, it's such a long range between that child who's extremely developmentally delayed to that child who may excel in so many ways, because I have seen young people who could not communicate but could play the piano and never had a lesson in their lives, or someone who can sculpt things with their hands but still can't communicate, no social contact. But so you have that wide range. And I just had to mention, I was blessed. I used to work for a company that worked with children who were autistic. And I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Temple Grandin. She's well known as the trailblazer, a spokesperson for people with autism. In her lifelong work with animals and behavioral science, because she at 3 could not verbalize. And when she was in school, she couldn't deal with abstract concepts. But she had something that they called, visual circuitry. Her extended beyond that of a neurotypical brain, a factor that allowed her to maintain long-term visual memory. And it's just so interesting to have had the opportunity to sit down and talk with her. And she shared with us about the vast areas in which you find people on that spectrum. So I'm just so pleased that you're there and that you're working with these children through Connecting Communities, which is Letitia Sessoms' organization.
Yes.
So as we continue to talk about autism, we'll go a little further, and then we'll talk a little more about Connecting Communities as well. James, Colonel?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have a question about, about autism in the African American communities and other cultural communities. How prepared are you in your profession and other professionals to deal with the cultural differences as far as dealing with autism? You know, you have one of the biggest things they say a sign is eye contact, and certain African cultures, eye contact is not allowed because it's considered disrespect. So you have to take into these cultural differences sometimes in sort of diagnosing, autism. And it's sort of reported that in African American communities and probably other cultures that a lot of the children are diagnosed late, which sort of delays any kind of development that they can get, or any kind of treatment or development that they can get. So what is being done in groups like Connecting Communities and other professionals to make sure those communities or those cultural communities are addressed properly?
Oh, you are exactly right in stating that. The African American community, unfortunately, is not allowed as much access to certain things for treatment and things of that nature. So it does cause a large gap in between early diagnosing, and of course, with a lot of different things, early diagnosis could go a long way in terms of treatment. But due to a lot of different things, but poverty levels, lack of resources and things of that nature. So it's our goal in our agency to link the different individuals to the different resources that are needed as early as possible. Assist, again, like I said, partnering with different people in the community to educate so that early detection can take place, because of course, early detection as well as access to certain resources could go a long way. And it's unfortunate, again, like you said, in an alarming rate that it is that large of a gap in the African American community as well as others, but it's as a result of the poverty, the lack of resources, and education, unfortunately. So again, with Connected Communities, it's our goal to bring that awareness, to bring the education, not only to the individuals that we provide services to, but the family, the community, those that are also involved in treatment, or not necessarily in treatment, but involved with the individual themselves, because they may not understand. They just feel like, oh, why don't he stop yelling? Or why don't he or she do this? Or why don't he or she do that? But it's our goal to work with the family unit to bring the awareness to what this diagnosis look like, and also to educate and have them a part of the treatment. Not just we're doing what we need to do with the actual individual, but we have to have them inclusive in treatment, because we're only there for a limited amount of time. So in our absence, they need to carry on what we're putting in place. They need to do the same things in our absence. So involving them in treatment is also a large portion of that. Unfortunately, also in the African American community, sometimes treatment is frowned upon, is looked at as a weakness, which in fact it shouldn't be. So breaking down those types of barriers and those negative stigmas as it relates to treatment and being diagnosed, that also helps a lot.
It's probably a little different now. In the past, a lot of the African American communities operated as a village, and it was like, we'll take care of our own. And communities are a little different now, and a lot of parents that are dealing with certain things out there by themselves. So it's important for them to know that there's help out there for them. Even if they can't afford it, there are avenues or places where they can go and get those early diagnoses, which is so important to whatever happens later on in life with children that are diagnosed with autism.
Absolutely.
And
Colonel?
it's also important.
Yeah, you know what? It's important that, and it's some great information from our two guests here this morning. And I think the first question that I would have is to, we're talking about treatment, diagnosis, and everything. But the first question is for me is to dispel some of the rumors of vaccines causing autism
Yes.
and the children. And so could either one of our guests talk about the role of vaccines and dispel any kind of rumors for the anti-vaxxers that actually are actually left over from our COVID stuff?
I can definitely speak to that. So unfortunately, there was, a study that came out that, was widely dispersed. And a lot of people, of course, because it was, portrayed as a research study that claimed to show a link between autism and vaccines. So some parents, started to make the decision to not vaccinate their children. It was revealed later, unfortunately, that that study has been debunked. There were a lot of questionable research methods and things that they did. So it's no longer considered to be any sort of validated research whatsoever, even if it ever was. So, at this point, there is definitely no link. There's been no, and there has been a lot of extensive research on this subject, and nothing has actually found a link. And it's also important to note as well that avoiding childhood vaccines could also put your child in danger of catching some serious diseases that these vaccines prevent. So, it's just good to have all the information and make the choice that's best for your child.
Also, it's go ahead, Colonel.
Yeah, Jesse, it was real important that we stress that this anti-vaccine movement, and especially with the topic of autism, was caused by a non-professional refereed journal by what I call the quacks out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been debunked over and over again. And there has not been another professional approved research project that is linked as a cause. So we just have to get that information out. And I just have to make sure that's clear that Jesse talked about.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yes. So the other thing too, so expectant parents, are there any genetic testing that should be provided to parents that could link it that to see there's a cause if I have this if I have it in my family?
So they have started to do some genetic testing, especially in the recent past, for sure. There is no single cause for autism. So it's a very complex disorder. They suspect that there are genetic, components possibly, but also sort of environmental things. So they don't really have anything pinpointed yet, but genetic testing is definitely available to those who seek it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not sure that it would give them an actual answer exactly, right? But they are doing research there.
So that's ongoing. But, for the crowd out there that's listening to us and viewing us over the airways, I just want to segue into that. And if this is very important information, and if you'd like to continue to get this kind of information, we at Portsmouth Coffee Talk would love to have sponsorships or donations so we can continue these type of programs. And if you can send any donations or sponsorship letters to Portsmouth Coffee Talk, P.O. Box 7664, Portsmouth, Virginia 23707, or shoot us an email and let us know how we're doing, and Slim will give you that email address.
Of course, that email address is portsmouthcoffeetalk@yahoo.com. portsmouthcoffeetalk@yahoo.com. Thank you, Colonel. Appreciate that.
Yeah, but here's one where I got to get this one right. I'm hot on this one, Leah.
Go ahead.
So with baby boomers, statistically, well, the young folks aren't having as many babies like they were when we were growing up. So now we're finding that some of the parents now are a little more mature, not using the old word. So is there any link from having a mother that is past the 40-year point, or having, and I call what the some people say old eggs, and the old, grandmama would say you got old eggs, or the fathers having the slow sperm because of their advanced age? Is there any link in those two with autism? I know that's a good one there. Okay, what say you for that?
Honestly, I hadn't looked into that too much. I have heard of it, but honestly, I could not say specifically one way or another from my, current knowledge, whether that is, I haven't looked at the research, to be honest, for that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Colonel. But our main goal here is to have the community aware.
Just all the baby boomers.
Yeah. Have the community aware of the wide range of spectrum there is with autism. And my special concern is I have a lot of young people I know in the city who are autistic, right? And one thing that I like about it, one young man who I talk to regularly, every time I say, "Are you having a good day?" He says, "I have a good day every day, Miss Leah." I said, "My goodness, if we could feel that way, we would be in a better place." But my major concern is because they don't respond to directions sometimes the way we would expect them to respond, or they may get a little aggressive on some situations, or something may trigger them to make them a little aggressive. And when they're older, interacting with the police, that's my concern. What is being done, or have you heard of anything that's being done to make the police aware of the behaviors of a person who may be on the spectrum? I think about the young man, I forgot what city he was in when he had the hood over his face, and he was killed by the police. But he was on the spectrum and he tried to respond, but he didn't know how to respond to the police. Do you know of anything that's being done to make the law enforcement community aware of people who are on the spectrum?
Leah, before you answer, it's not quite 5 minutes too, but so we won't break up the answer to this important question. Just wanted to thank all the listeners on WGPL 1350 AM on your radio dial for listening to us this morning as we segue into continuing our program on Facebook Live. Just wanted to do that so it won't be a break in the answer to that question. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And I wasn't paying attention, and I do apologize.
Oh, that's okay. I just it's a little early, but I just didn't want to break up that answer.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, so a lot of police departments in recent years, because obviously those are some very real concerns. They have partnered with different providers and educators and experts in the field, and they have, a lot of police departments have undergone and started the process of training specific to autism and how to maybe approach differently or understand what's maybe going on, how to communicate. So I would definitely advocate for ongoing training in that realm. I'm not sure if it's been done in the area specifically, but definitely police departments are seeking out that training.
I do know the city of Virginia Beach in particular, they have a crisis response team with the police that they've been working ongoingly on increasing that awareness, the signs, and especially when someone calls and says specifically, this person is, autistic, or they're on the spectrum, or when they are, so they're training them to identify certain things. We here at Connecting Communities, actually, we met one day last week in regards to that, something very similar to that. So we want to get involved in that process as well and work closely with additional, especially the city of Portsmouth, because that's near and dear to our heart. We're right there in the city of Portsmouth, and identifying some of those same things.
Okay, how do organizations get in touch with you if they feel as though they need some experts to come in to talk to them about autism?
So they can reach us at, well, definitely can just stop by 309 County Street, suite number 203, Portsmouth, Virginia. Give us a call at 757-966-1689. They can reach us via email, contact@connectingcommunitiesllc.com. But any of those avenues, definitely we'll get right back with them and share the knowledge.
Very good.
Knowing the importance of early diagnosis and early developmental training, how often does, when you get that early developmental training, autistic students able to be integrated back into regular public schools? Does that happen a lot?
It absolutely can. I think it would be very individualized depending on, what kind of deficits they experience, how long they need to be in maybe intensive therapy. So it's definitely a possibility. But as you said, the early intervention is the key. If somebody does engage in some kind of problem behavior, right? Engaging in it for a couple of years, maybe 1 or 2, is a lot different than doing this for 10 years, right? So things become a little bit more difficult to maybe kind of to undo, if you will. So if somebody engages in something for, like, let's say it's just physical aggression, for example, for maybe 2 years, right? There's a shorter history there. So, intervening at that point is a lot different than intervening after 10 or 15 years of that type of behavior. Although I will definitely say progress can be made absolutely at any age, but early intervention is definitely key when it comes to maybe long-term progress and things like that.
Yeah, I asked that question because one time I sat on a state committee that dealt with developmental cases like that. And I know at one time at IC Norcom, they had students that would come from one of the homes and integrate into IC Norcom High School. I don't know if they're still doing that, and I don't know if they were autistic or, since I'm here, what's the difference between attention deficit and autism? Is there a big difference? I think it's what is
ADHD.
Yeah. What's the difference between those two?
Yes, there's definitely a lot of differences between those two diagnoses. I would say that with ADHD, there could be some social deficits maybe, but but ADHD doesn't, I would say, tend to accompany like communication issues. You may see some sorts of problem behaviors, but it has to do more, I would say, with the like attending to task, ability to maybe, to attend, that more hyperactive type behaviors. So there's a definite difference there. I would say the biggest one is probably the communication deficits.
Okay, and the last thing, I'll just say this because, we always talk about autistic children and see sometimes the way they act out, but those children grow up into adults.
Yeah.
And I've seen adults on several videos giving presentations about their autism, and unless they mentioned it, you wouldn't know. So I'm sure that the early detection and development process helped them manage their way. I know it's different degrees of autism. So that's why I asked that. I didn't know how often that they are able to, integrate into schools and into society in general, watching those adults excel like they do.
Mm-hmm. And what has happened with the science? Because a few years ago, you never heard anybody talking about autism. And
Hmm.
all of a sudden, all we're hearing about is autism and more autism awareness programs taking place. So what has happened over the years that make them, I mean, before were these kids just diagnosed as being behavior problems, or share some information on that, please.
So I mean, from the information that I have received, it might not be that there was always such a difference between how many individuals had autism, maybe 50, 40 years ago. But it is just like you said about awareness and obtaining a diagnosis and things like that. Definitely could be miscategorized as other things. And previously maybe parents wouldn't have sought out a diagnosis. So there that wasn't so the 1 in 59 number that we have now could have been that back then, but maybe not as many people were obtaining a diagnosis.
I think too, it's always existed, but just with the evolution of things, we have to consider foods, different genetics, biologicals. It's a lot of different things and then with technology goes into place. So now there's a bigger awareness. So now we're hearing more about it, whereas different ways to be able to communicate it previously were limited. Now with the advancements in social media, just, widespread Facebook, Instagram, things of that nature, we're able to get it out more. So now we're hearing about it more as well.
And I think also with more of those who are on the higher end being able to tell their stories about their lives, I'm sure that has made a difference as well, because as I stated, when I met Dr. Temple, it's hard to have thought that she was autistic until she shared her story with us of what she had gone through. And I think about some of the other people who I've met as I've participated in the program, who, like I say, maybe the greatest concert pianist. So, but until he told his story, I would not have known that he was autistic. So I guess with them being able to share their stories now as well, it makes a difference. But let me ask you this, is there any type of organization, say like for the young adults who are, still living at home with family members, but a way for them to come together and be together and to socialize? Any programs out there for them?
I would definitely say with social media, there are certainly some groups via social media. When it comes to our services, with like ABA, sometimes we can run like social skill groups, and we can, bring them together like that and give time for social skill opportunities.
And I know there are organizations also that are helping some of them to get jobs in the communities as well.
Absolutely. And so with like a continuum of services, there's also service similar to, and maybe Ikai can talk more about this, but like MHS services, those could possibly target some of those job skills. Also, DARS, so the Department of Rehabilitative Services, they also are very helpful in vocational skills and obtaining jobs and obtaining employment.
Okay.
That's a good point. I have another question though. Leah talked about Dr. Temple, but I have to give a shout out to the most famous person that has had autism, and we romanticize them because they came from the movies. It's the movie with Rain Man with Tom Cruise, and I think that had a chance to bring out the questions and also to explain a lot of things about the spectrum of. We talk about the spectrum of autism. So, but my question would be, if I have a child that has autism, when will is there a possibility that I can get help through SSI, and which opens up another plethora of federal aid also? And when would I pass that Rubicon to qualify for SSI?
So it's a definite possibility. Once a child has received the diagnosis, a parent can apply for SSI to help funding with things that the child needs. And they can use that money to however it's going to best suit the child. I believe that they can use it for like, let's say that there's something that's needed for therapy, or they needed to pay for transportation to get there, or like a copay if there were something like that. But it's money that can definitely be obtained if somebody qualifies for it. I don't have the exact criteria, but I have worked with families where the child has received SSI to support them.
Mm-hmm. You know, the other piece to recognize too, for those parents that do qualify for SSI after 2 years, then they'll also be automatically put in for Medicare, which helps with the healthcare costs automatically after 2 years.
Okay, let's talk about the parents of children with autism. And some parents might have more than one child with autism within the family. And, you know, some mothers or fathers or parents together try to be that super parent and do everything, you know, along with taking care of that autistic child or children. Are there programs out there for parents to be a part of to make sure their mental health is stabilized in dealing with something like this?
That's a really great point, and a very necessary point. There are definitely parent like groups out there. Again, social media has been a game changer for so many things. When it comes to ABA therapy, which is the type of one of the therapies that we provide, there is a parent training component. So the parents are highly involved in the process from the start, and their participation continues to sort of increase as therapy progresses. But also, parents can also seek their own sort of supports as well through their own personal needs. So they could possibly join the parent support group. They could, they could attend their own outpatient therapies, which are definitely available out there to help with their own mental health if necessary. So those are all supports available to them. And a huge component of ABA is parent training as well, to give them some tools that they could be very useful outside of sessions when we are not there.
And they can also identify other resources, such as Autism Speaks that website is a great tool for a lot of different things. So for parenting things, as well as, like you mentioned earlier, job seeking or different groups and things of that nature, they have a wealth of information as well as resources. So that is a great resource for parents to also look into for those things as well.
Is NARMI active in this area? NARMI, NARMI.
I'm not.
National Association of Mental. I'll get it right for you, and I'll come back with you on that one. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Probably to answer that question, there's a lot of organizations that also crosstalk in as far as anybody with any kind of developmental or behavioral health diagnosis. And so, but there's a lot, they just crosstalk and work with a lot. But y'all, the two of you in your organizations are doing yeoman's work, and I like to applaud you and thank you ahead of time for that.
Thank you.
We really need you out there, because
and once again, could you just identify some of the patterns of behavior for some of those people maybe just coming on, so that when we're in the public and we see children acting up and acting out, we will know that these children are not just doing this because they're just bad children. So could you just share with us some, again, for those who may be just coming on, patterns of behavior to observe when the child is on the spectrum?
Sure, absolutely. So there are typically three categories. There's social deficits, communication deficits, and some behavioral issues that you may see. So socially, we talked about eye contact, maybe not making eye contact, not engaging in conversation, difficulty understanding or expressing different emotions to others, facial expressions, difficulty just interacting with others. Communication, somebody could experience some severe communication deficits where, you know, they might not be able to say any vocal words, or they may not respond to their name. They may not follow directions or have difficulty following directions. And then behaviorally, you might see some what are called repetitive behaviors. So that could be like body rocking, toe walking, hand flapping. Otherwise, in terms of problem behaviors, I mean, you could see something like tantruming, physical aggression. But I would say that when it comes to any problem behavior that you might see, we would absolutely view that as a form of communication. So if somebody is engaged in a problem behavior, you know, what are they trying to communicate? Because they are trying to let somebody know something, you know, either they want to go, or maybe they want something, or maybe they want to interact in some way, shape, or form. But I think maybe having that view of a problem behavior is kind of the best one that you can have, is trying to problem solve and say, you know, that person's trying to communicate, and what are they trying to say?
And it's important to note that certain sounds or certain smells or certain lights may trigger this child and cause them to begin to act up. And I saw a child, a sound came when the child put her fingers in her ears and just started turning in circles, you know, and people were standing around and laughing, and the mother was trying to control the child. So that's awareness is what it's all about for these children and for these parents as well. So thank you for sharing the patterns of behaviors with us so that we will know what we are seeing is not what we are seeing, okay? Oftentimes what you see is not what you're truly seeing. So we appreciate that so very much.
And Leah, what's so,
Oh, I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You're perfectly fine. I just wanted to revisit two things really quickly. I know you spoke about the monetary aspect of things, and with SSI, definitely Medicaid is the avenue to go to assist with some of the costs with that. And in terms of them applying for SSI, if there's anyone out there listening that is, you know, maybe have been turned down, or don't be discouraged by being turned down the first time. If you apply for SSI, try again. Just whatever they're requesting, if they're asking for additional information, just try again. Don't be discouraged by the first time. And then the second thing I wanted to revisit, it took a minute, it's still early for my brain to catch up, but NAMI, yes, National Association for National Alliance of Mental Illness.
There, yes.
They are in the area.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. It took,
I couldn't pull it up. It was early in the morning.
I couldn't get it. It was, I'm trying, but we got it. But yes, they are in the area. Yes.
They are in the area. And that's a good source for families.
Absolutely.
A great source for families.
Yes.
So say it again. So I interrupted you. Say it again. So
no, you're fine. It's NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness.
Yes.
Yes.
And what I was going to say, what's so amazing is what I saw, that how many adults weren't diagnosed until they were in their 40s or older. And that's why it's so important for us to try to understand people's behavior. It's not always, you know, what it seems on the outside, and they act on. What I wanted to bring up is connecting communities. How, because what we haven't brought up, that a lot of the adults with autism are employable and are working in jobs. And I think a lot of people don't know that, or don't open up their employment, you know, to hire adults with autism.
Right.
Is it something that Connecting Community does as far as working with employees to let them know that there are people that with autism, or people that can be hired? And probably without even mentioning the autism, but what is being done to make sure that these people can, with the autism, can be fully employed?
So here at Connecting Communities, we partner with a lot of individuals. Like you would think, okay, a mental health agency, we only work with those that are in the mental health field. No, we partner with a lot of different people, again, to provide that education piece on things such as jobs. We try to link individuals that we have in services and or not in services that may just come come to one of our events and express the need for something. They may not qualify or meet all of the criteria to be a part of our services, but we are about helping the community, whether you're in services or not. So our goal is to work with, it may be an Office Depot or the tire shop around the corner. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a part of the mental health field. We work with those different agencies to bring that awareness and to potentially provide jobs, even if it's something on a smaller scale, getting that foot in the door, getting that experience, some level of experience for work to get that foot in the door, and then it can progress from there. But yes, we partner with so many different agencies for that very reason.
Yeah, I'll just say my experience, I spent long periods of time in the hospital, and was a lot of adult autistic people working in the hospital. And you know how important any job in the hospital is. So that just lets you know how employable autistic people.
I think that goes back to what we said earlier too, how wide the spectrum is. You have so many high functioning individuals. So just because they're on the spectrum, that does not mean that they're not employable.
Exactly.
You know what? It's a good point, though. My experience is that once these folks are employed, they are probably one of your better employees because they show up on time, they do what they're supposed to do, they break their backs to do the best job that they can do, unlike other folks that really don't take the job for granted.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so for employers out there, they need to look first at this segment of society.
Exactly.
Yes.
I see Ms. Sessoms has put up the address and phone number and everything. So let's talk about
Connecting communities.
Connecting communities.
Yes.
So a lot of other things that they do, even though we wanted to focus on autism today, but we also want to give the props to the other things that Connecting Community does, and of course to Letitia Sessoms. Yes. And how long has Connecting Communities been in service?
We've been in services for 4 years. We started in March of 2017. The doors opened in October of 2017. So we were licensed. We became licensed in March of 2017, and we opened our doors in October. And we have been pleased from day one. Our services are very, we are qualitative driven, not quantitative driven. Our goal is to deliver a excellent quality of service to each and every individual that crosses our path. Whether you are a part of our services or not, we have a lot of different community events that we come in contact with people. They may not qualify for services, but they still need help in some type of capacity, whether it's a resource to something for a child, a resource for something for themselves. If we have that information and we can share that, then that's what we do, regardless to if they are part of our services or not. So we work very diligently in the community to make sure that the community that we are a part of is getting whatever it is that they need.
And I know I see you all everywhere. Everywhere I am, there you are also. So I know that you're out about in the community doing great things in the community.
Thank you.
Another reason we wanted to have you all on the show this morning.
Thank you. And we have ABA, which of course works very closely with a lot of those individuals that are on the spectrum. We also have mental health skill building services, which targets the adult population that may need to build some of those daily living skills. We also have intensive in-home services, which target the youth and adolescent population. We have crisis stabilization, which is one of our newer programs. Crisis stabilization, of course, is just what it says, is a crisis-driven service which stabilizes the immediate need of whatever the family is experiencing at that moment. And we also have outpatient therapy. So we have a wide gamut of different things, different services that we offer to different age groups, different brackets. And we work very hard to make sure that each and every person is pleased with the services that we deliver.
That is wonderful. And if you all don't mind, for those who may have just come on Facebook this morning, we did honor 2 high school students on today. We are pleased that these students, in spite of the pandemic, they've been able to excel and make it to graduation. So on this morning, we have highlighted Miss Layla Turner of Woodrow Wilson High School. Miss Turner has a 4.1 GPA. She's an honors graduate. Her major is exercise science and her minor is in nutrition. She's a member of the Student Council Association, National Honor Association, Honor Roll for 4 years and 4 years playing varsity basketball. She is a number 6 in her class and has received a full academic scholarship to Central State University, a $1,000 athletic scholarship. She has enrolled in Honors College where she received honors college scholarship, which covers her first semester of $10,000. This morning, we salute Woodrow Wilson's Layla Turner. Congratulations, Miss Turner, on your achievements. And we also have this morning a young lady who's dear to my heart, Miss Nia Simone. Nia is the daughter of Morris and Elisa Winston. She will graduate with honors from Churchland High School on Saturday, June 19th. While a senior, Nia has completed 2 semesters at Tidewater Community College through the dual enrollment program. Nia was accepted in over 19 universities and has decided to attend Virginia State University in the fall to major in psychology. Throughout her high school years, Nia has participated in or is a member of the following: Student Council Association at Churchland High School, Miss Sophomore at Churchland High School, Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority Camp Counselor 2017 through 2018, and she was a junior director for my organization, Sankofa Cultural and Learning Center, Churchland High School cheerleader, Faith Fellowship Community Church youth leader, yearbook club at Churchland High School, AKA Ascend program, and Neil was inducted into the National Honor Society and the National English Honor Society. So this morning, we would also like to salute Miss Nia Simone Winston. Congratulations on all of your achievements. And congratulations to all the graduates of all the schools here in Portsmouth, as well as throughout the nation. Congratulations.
You know,
And now we can make continue, James. I apologize.
well, I'm glad you repeated that, and I'm glad. I'm now realizing there are other high schools other than IC Norcom in the city of Portsmouth.
Exactly.
But we're coming to a close of our program. We want to thank the 2 ladies for being on here today. But I want to give you an opportunity to give last words to, especially those parents out there that may have autistic children, or their children might have the tendencies and they haven't had them diagnosed yet, or they're hiding behind the fact that maybe my child is nothing wrong with my child, but there is. So what would you say to those parents and where they can go to get help if they need it? And you know, don't go with the stigma of being ashamed because you might have a child that's different. You know, what would you say? And I'll start with you, Ms. Peele.
So I would first tell them, come to Connecting Communities, of course. We definitely do free consults. We can point them in the right direction. We can give them different resources that are needed. Definitely make them feel comfortable and understand that this is not just a you problem, you know, this is, or not even a problem. This is not just a you situation. This is something that a lot of different people are experiencing. So you're not alone in this, and then link them to different places in which that they could see that, to feel more comfortable and understand that they are not alone in this. If we can't help, if we can't help directly, we definitely will point them in the right direction. We do free screenings, again, free consults, and things of that nature. So they definitely could come to us as a first point of contact, and then we can direct them in other directions.
Ms. Farmer?
Yeah, so I will just build on what Ikai said. I think that's wonderful. Place to start. And I would also just say, just start the conversations, you know, when you take your child to the pediatrician, just be very honest, be very open about if you do have any concerns at all. And the doctor, you know, can certainly, you know, confirm or say, maybe we need to look at some other evaluations. It can certainly be intimidating or maybe even scary. But that's kind of the first step, is getting to that point. Also, I would just like to say too, that in the state of Virginia, if somebody already has Medicaid, that for behavior therapy or ABA services, a licensed mental health professional, which Connecting Communities has, or similar agencies, they can actually provide what are called provisional diagnoses. So if because sometimes there's a pretty long wait list for children to obtain a diagnosis. But in the state of Virginia, they can obtain, if it's suspected by the parent and the PCP, the doctor, a licensed mental health professional can provide that diagnosis, can get services started if they qualify, and that gives them about 6 months to obtain a formal diagnosis.
Very good.
And if you don't mind, I just want to definitely let those know that are listening. Follow us on Facebook at Connecting Communities LLC. We provide a lot of different information, a lot of different resources via our Facebook page. Follow us, leave us a review. You'll also see the different events that we have going on, which are, I'm a little biased, but they are phenomenal. We actually have one coming up on July the 15th from 5:30 to 7:30. It's called Fill the Bag, FILL the Bag, and Feel, FEEL, the community. So it's a giveaway. So definitely for those that those that share the information on that upcoming event. But please, just check us out, come see what we're about, and you definitely will not be disappointed.
Very
Okay,
good.
host, any last minute or last words from the host?
I want to say once again, I thank you ladies for getting up so early on a Monday morning and sharing such valuable information with the community, because it's truly information that we all need to be aware of. And you all did an amazing job. For two who were so nervous on yesterday, I must say it didn't show on today, okay? I want to say thank you all so very, very much for sharing that information, and it's good to know. And we want to thank Letitia Sessoms for bringing this organization to the Portsmouth community. And as I said, I see you all over the community, so I know that you're doing great things. And for that, I applaud each and every one of you. And just as you said, I hope that all of those who are listening will also go to Portsmouth Coffee Talks YouTube page. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Please, we need you in order for us to bring on people who can give information to you as to what's taking place in your community. So if you missed any shows, go to YouTube and you can see the shows that you may have missed. But I want to thank all of you who are out there, who are on Facebook, and those who were on the radio, and those who will go to YouTube Live and subscribe on that page. I want to thank each and every one of you as well. Colonel?
Yes, and like I said before, thanks to our two guests ahead of time, and keep doing what you're doing, because we need more nonprofits like y'all to keep, helping build our communities.
Exactly.
Thank you guys for having us and allowing us the platform to share the information. So thank you guys as well.
You're quite welcome. And I like to say to others out there in the community, when you see parents out there dealing with autistic children, try to understand, be aware of what they're going through and show some compassion rather than trying to judge them and say, well, that child needs a beating or needs a timeout. The situation calls for much more detailed intervention than that. So try to show some compassion, and just shows like this here to try to make you aware of what's going on out there with our children, especially with autism. So thank you everybody for watching. And I want to say this one last thing. We lost another teenager in our city, and we want to send our prayers, 14-year-old girl. And we want to send our prayers out to the family and the friends, and prayers also for the 15-year-old who's also fighting for their life. At some point, we're going to have to come together collectively and look for solution-based actions in order to deal with this. We're losing our children too young and too often. And hopefully we won't have to keep seeing this happen before we take some action. Leaders lead, and everybody else has a responsibility to be involved in what we can do to save our children. So keep these families in prayer, and also be aware of what's going on out there in your communities, and do whatever we can to help save our future.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for that. And Portsmouth Coffee Talk is here every week to share our voice,
our community,
and our future.
And our next week's guest, James?
Our next week's guest will be Craig Jones, and he's a resident of Mount Hermon, and he'll be on to discuss, they're dedicating a new park to in Mount Hermon that's been there for a long time. I played a lot of basketball out there, home in my ski. But this new park is being named after one of our former councilmen and Mayor Bernard Griffin, and longtime residents of Mount Hermon. So be sure to tune in next week as we talk to Craig Jones, a member of the Civic League out there, and talk about the park and this dedication to a very deserving servant of our city for years.
Yes, yes.
Thanks for reminding me of that, deal.
You're
And
welcome.
ladies, again, thank you. We appreciate it. And you all did an excellent job. I told you all of us are nervous, so it all worked out.
And we salute you, ladies. Portsmouth Coffee Talk, we salute you. Thank you.
Thank you
so very much. Thank you. And have a wonderful day.
Yes.
Guys too.
Okay, take care. Tell Letitia I said hello.
I will.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.